Well, we are recording just to let you know, and this is the next episode of CITYSGAW, which is channels that I think you should go and watch. And you're someone that I actually highlighted a while ago because it's been a while that we haven't seen you on the interwebs, on the internet streets.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But I'm so glad to have the opportunity to have you here now as part of the podcast, not just a segment of my live streams. So, how
Yeah,
have you been?
good. What's this YouTube channel called? Cities
No,
Gone?
no, this is just a segment in my live
Oh,
streams that I've
gotcha,
spun off
gotcha.
now. It's something that I would always highlight a channel or a creator
Oh, okay.
at the end of my live streams, and it was just Cities God channels that I think you should go and watch. And now
Oh,
I'm
channels.
having
I think you should go and watch. Got it.
Yep. And now I'm having those same people that I've highlighted for the last 3 years,
Oh,
actually
wow.
inviting them to be as part of the podcast to actually get this going as its own spinoff.
Cool, man. Yeah, I'm good. It was so weird. It was late. I'm on Eastern time zone. It was late and I saw you were live on my phone and I was like, oh, let me go check this out. Camera junkie. And I had no idea what you were talking about, any of that stuff. I don't even know what you've been up to. It seems like podcasting and things like that. So I was like, just checking in. I watch YouTube a lot on my TV now. I
Yes.
feel like I feel like I've regressed in YouTube and stuff. Like I used to, I mean, I still consider myself a YouTuber. It's always there. YouTube is always there. You can make new channels whenever you want. I feel like people don't realize that. And I'm thinking about making a new channel. And I was watching YouTube on my TV. I'm a big anime fan.
Yeah.
And I've been real big into, I never liked this type of content before, but the past like year, I watch reactions to animes that I like. And I don't know
Interesting.
what it is about it. It's just like you have a favorite like TV show of like all time or something, and I'm watching people react to this show called Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and it's so fun seeing them go through like the whole show. It's like 64 episodes, so it's not like Dragon Ball Z. It's not like hundreds and hundreds of episodes. So I get to see them like go through the show, and it's like one of my favorite shows. And what started that actually, sorry, I'm going on a long rant here. I watched X-Men 97 on Netflix a little bit ago. And I'm not like a big TV person, but that like blew me away. And I started watching reactions to that. And then I was like, oh my God, there's this whole like reaction thing out there. Because I always thought it was like
Subgenre.
cheap. Yeah, I thought it was like cheap content, people stealing other people's content. But then like I started watching like people who like that's like their big thing. And with anime, they do like a breakdown before the episode starts, like where they left off, theories on what they think's gonna happen.
Mhm.
I'm like, man.
It's
So
it's really
yeah,
cool, right? When you find that like subcategory of something that you're already interested in. I
yeah,
fell in a rabbit hole similar to that with a content creator who might eventually end up being on here. His name is Harry Mack, right? And
okay.
he's a freestyle rapper. So
Oh,
he
I've seen him. I've seen his videos. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so I've been following him from like way
yeah.
before the millions of subscribers,
Okay.
and I fell into that same reaction to something that I liked
Yeah,
on
yeah,
his videos because there's a bunch of channels that react to like his weekly uploads and things like that so that they
okay.
could always have just like you would chat with a friend. And that's what I found out, that you're just getting other
Yeah,
people's point of views, just like if you were sitting around, I guess the water cooler at a job,
yeah,
talking about Game of Thrones. It falls
yeah.
into that same category for me.
Yeah, and it's interesting and it's funny. I don't know if you know this. Like I've had multiple. I mean, I've been on YouTube for over 10 years.
Nice.
And I've had multiple channels, multiple things I've tried. It just so happens the biggest thing was when I started doing camera stuff. Um, and during the pandemic, actually, when I was feeling like that was like kind of the start of the downward of moving away from doing YouTube, but I was still plugging away, still making videos. about cameras specifically. And I started watching music review stuff. Like I was watching this one guy who's gotten a little bit bigger. Oh my God, his name's gonna escape me, but he was reviewing like rap and stuff like that. And I love like pop punk and stuff, but I was so fascinated by his thing. And then I started watching other people. So I made my own channel. It's called Sonic Sound. It's got like
Nice.
400 subscribers or something like that. And it's so funny. YouTube is so funny because it actually blew up a little bit because I did a reaction on Angels and Airwaves, which is a side band of Blink 182.
Yes.
And they had a new song come out like during the pandemic. And it was kind of pandemic themed. It was called All That's Left Is Love. It was like a positive song. And Tom DeLonge from Blink 182 retweeted it and was like, hey, this is a
Nice.
great review. And then I did a review on Taylor Swift, which is a whole thing. If you ever
Yeah, the
review anything of
Swifties.
Taylor Swift, and I got inundated with a lot of hate because I didn't know the lore enough. But anyway,
Oh,
so it's so funny. Like I started a new channel. I only did like 8 or 10 videos because it was really hard. It was like I would do an album review. So an album could be like an hour or like a half hour, and it was like super hard to like edit. But it was so fun. It was like I wasn't talking about cameras and I just did it. I was just like, I'm gonna start a channel. I like I think I found like a channel art from like Google Images, just slapped it in there, and like it's so fun to look back. Now it's 4 years old, and to see that I have like in my list of channels, I have like another channel that's out there, and I'm thinking about doing that again. So I'm thinking about making a new channel, maybe an anime reaction channel, or I'm a big like MMA guy. Like I love the UFC, I love
oh, me
MMA,
too.
and I've been I've been watching people do like they'll watch a card and they'll do a prediction before the card and stuff. So it's like it's so funny that like this conversation happened because I feel like I've been so out of it as like a creator for so long for the past like 2 years that I've had like all these ideas and I'm like, I've done that before. I made a channel in 2020. Like, why don't I just make a new one? Like
Mhm.
there's no rules. I think people need to know that.
Yes.
There's no rules. And that's the hardest part is like hitting record. So
Hmm.
got ideas. Got ideas.
Oh, that's cool, man, because I do feel the same way. I think the only thing that would merit you making a different channel is like, and I have this discussion with a friend of mine, Doc Rock, which is I'm not sure if it's about like, the different language, because if it's like Spanglish where you're sprinkling it in, I don't
Yeah.
have a problem, but I did end up creating a different channel for a different language and
Oh,
another one
okay.
for like my car creation content. So,
Okay.
the car, I'm doing some repairs to my own vehicle in hopes to basically show the proof in the pudding, so to speak, the
Mhm.
proof of practice that I have the capability to do that type of work. And it's something that I've also enjoyed my entire life. So instead of me like not doing it, it was
Yo.
it was a neighbor of mine who actually saw me go outside and I was doing a tire rotation, and he knows that I do YouTube, so he just comes up to me and says, "So you're gonna make a video?" And I was like, "Now I am." Right?
This
I was
is
like,
a perfect segue. Like, are you familiar with, she's not on YouTube anymore. Speaking of like this ebb and flow of YouTube
"Mhm.
life, Hannah Hart. Have you ever heard of her? She
No,
was like a
no."
comedy person back in the day. It was Hannah Hart, Grace Helbig, who, funnily enough, that she's like why I got into YouTube. They're like comedy people. They're like kind of
Nice.
the older vloggers. Like when they were in their 20s vlogging, it was like 2012, 2014, and now they're late 30s or in their 30s and stuff like me. Um,
Mhm.
she's no longer on YouTube, but her very first video, which blew up, was how to make a grilled cheese. And she was filming a stupid video for our friend, like how to make a grilled cheese. And she got drunk doing it. And she called her YouTube channel My Drunk Kitchen. A lot of people
Oh,
know
that's
her and
cool.
whatnot, but so that's like I actually I saw your podcast or I saw your live stream the other day, and then I was thinking about all these things which we're literally talking about now, and a guy I went to high school with messaged me. And, I'm sure you get this all the time, especially because you're still making content about streaming and cameras and stuff. He's like, hey, Canon M50, I've seen you've only made like one or two videos about that. What about this camera? What about this camera? And it's funny that this is the first time I'm filming a live stream over here. I used to film like, a setup, like a set camera, lights and stuff like that. I've done a little bit of Twitch streaming. I can't remember if I don't think I said it in your stream, but I have, I'm a big gamer. So like I was streaming a little bit. I'll do it like for a month and then I'll stop. I'll do it for a month. And I have a camera over here, which we can talk about later for the switching program. But it's my bunny cam. So I have a bunny. You can see a tunnel behind me, and there's a
Oh, that's
cage
cool.
back there, and he sits at my feet. So during my Twitch stream, I was like, oh, let me mess with this. So I hooked up two cameras. So this is the 6100 above my monitor on an arm. I have a Yeti. I don't know which mic this is. It's not the Snowball. It's the one above that. And then I have, what is this? My wife's old A6000 as my bunny cam. So that one's aimed at like my feet, and that'll be like in the bottom left of my stream or somewhere. And then like I'll have my face cam somewhere else. And it's funny, he usually chills by my feet, so I'll have that there. And then I'll use OBS. Like if he runs away, I'll turn it off or something like that. And then if I do, I'll be right back. I'll do a be right back stream with just the bunny cam like enlarged. So you could just like watch him while I'm out of the
Hmm.
chair away or whatever. That lasted like a whole month. That was like my one friend who I game with all the time was away for a month. So I was like, oh, let me stream. I'm just by myself. But yeah, that could be like I'll have to pull up a screenshot of how rudimentary it is. It's just like a two camera thing that I can switch back and forth
I,
type thing. But yeah.
I gotta say, the thing that's shocked me most right now is how many things we seem to have exactly in common. Like
You have a bunny?
I used to like with
Ah,
family. So I'm very familiar with that lifestyle and how they are, being that they're like, you got to let them come to you,
yeah.
and wait for them, because if you try to go to them, they're just going to bounce. And knowing that and seeing how you're telling me that he's like lives nested at your feet, that's like super cool. Also the interest in MMA, because that's
Oh
something
yeah,
that I've
yeah.
grown up my entire life. So the more you go along, the more I'm like, man, that sounds like very similar. So
What's
super cool.
interesting too is comes back to the multiple channel thing is like people will be like, oh, I'm the camera guy. They'll message me about that stuff. And people don't realize like you have way more interest than just like the one YouTube channel. Like I know
Hmm.
everything there is to know about a Sony A6000, but like, yeah, I'm an MMA guy. I love anime. I'm obsessed with roller coasters. I have like roller coaster posters up here and stuff like that. Like, comics. Like I'm a computer nerd. Like, I work in IT, things like that, which I believe you worked in IT or you still do. I'm not sure.
Not anymore. That was a transition, but I did. I used to be full in networking and to like small to medium sized businesses, getting them going up from server racks. I used to have a nickname called Spider Man, right?
Mm,
Because I was the one in the rafters or in the drop ceiling running the
okay.
actual lines. And it was something that happened that I was on a ladder
Oh
up
no.
in the drop ceiling, and the ladder started to twist. And the ladder
Oh
started
Lord.
to twist and it's coming down, and I'm up there, and people were watching this happen from the hallway. And as I'm falling, I extend my leg and I just pinch myself against the wall and in the hallway, and let the whole commotion of the like ladder and
Yeah.
everything fall underneath me. And once it was done, I was then able to just lower
Like
myself to
slide down.
safety. And ever
That's
since
great.
then, I was called the Spider-Man of like networking, but that's here in South Florida. From that, I actually transitioned to fixing iPhones when I
Okay.
was doing mobile iPhone repair and trying to better bring like a better quality video
Mm,
to not monetize but advertise or to market
okay.
my business. Ended up rekindling my passion for video and photography all over again. And then the next thing you know, I'm like consumer researching every camera out there just to make the most minimal like difference in purchase. And that's where the camera junkie came about.
Yeah. So what are you doing like full time now? Are you doing content creation stuff full time or still
Yeah,
doing the repair?
actually, no,
Yeah.
no longer doing any repairs on phones or anything like that. I'm very happy to
Yeah.
say that right now I'm currently just full-time content creation, not solely for myself, but for Ecamm, which is that company right there.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
I'm their podcast producer. I do their editing.
Cool.
So I have a really amazing relationship with Ecamm. I'm basically the closest you can be as an employee without officially being an employee.
Mhm.
And that has allowed me to continue to do the things that I want to do, which is also create on these platforms like YouTube, so on and so forth, which has only opened doors to meeting amazing
Yeah.
people and just allowed me to do this full time.
Perfect, man. That's awesome. That's so great to hear. I was wondering because you were like in Atlanta, and I was like, how long is he there for? And I was like, I wonder if he's doing this stuff full time now. So making
Yeah.
it work, man. Very
The
good. Very good.
Atlanta was actually the podcast summit hosted by
Yeah.
David Shands from the Social Proof podcast. And he's
No
also
idea.
known. Well,
No idea. I
he's
probably have
pretty
seen him probably, but
exactly like he's one of those faces that like you see these Instagram commercials and things like that, and you don't even realize that it's for
I'm
his own
also
product.
terrible with names. So if
Uh,
I saw his face, I would know him.
I feel you. I feel you. I'm not the greatest, but I'm working on it.
I
But
can
yeah,
remember Mr. Camera Junkie. That's like easy. But
you
yeah,
see,
names hard.
thank you. I take pride in that because I find that I think that I do pretty well with marketing,
Mm.
and having a name that kind of just rolls off the tongue and kind of can stick with
It's
people tends to work.
it's very easy. Yeah, it's a good brand name, I think.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
But I was in Atlanta doing the podcast summit. I was there for a couple of days, and as soon as I returned back home, now I'm here on with you.
yeah, man. Yeah. Does we didn't like do like a intro, so to speak, or whatever. How do we does is this just a casual conversation or people are
Yeah,
gonna
absolutely. This is the podcast. Like the
Okay.
whole thing is like, it's almost like you remember when we used to not have all video on demand.
Yeah.
Right, where
Mhm.
you could actually turn on the TV and start a movie like 15 minutes in, but it caught
Oh
you.
yeah, there you go.
You know what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying? And you're like, what's going on? Like, I really didn't understand. But then the next thing you know, the next 45 minutes, and you know the entire story, even though
There you
you
go.
missed the first 15 minutes. I
Yeah.
think that that's what I'm doing with these podcasts. I think I'm just starting them off so that it's so like just easy going. And then the intros and outros could be edited in easily, right? As far as
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
I'm going to let everyone know who I'm going to have on the podcast. And then it goes right into the conversation.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, I mean, just in case you need a clip or something, I used to be the guy who talked about Sony A6000 or Sony APS-C cameras and also Canon EF-M cameras, but that's now discontinued. And just tips and tricks videos. I think the biggest thing that my channel was known for was the tips and tricks, like volumes 1 through 5 on the Sony A6000. And it was cool because I couldn't shut up about my own camera. I actually bought that camera for my wife. She was a makeup YouTuber. She's had multiple channels too, like
Thanks.
plants, makeup, things like that. And I bought it for her because that was the transitional period from DSLRs to the mirrorless cameras where back in the day, you could get a Canon 70D, I think it was, or even a little bit before that, where autofocus wasn't actually that much of a thing in video, like with consumer cameras. So the 70D, I remember, person I mentioned earlier, Hannah Hart, Grace Helbig, Mamie Hart, these big comedy sit down vloggers, they would like put things in front of the camera and it was like what no one knew, like it wasn't like an easily accessible thing to get like a Canon 70D. It was like a $2,000 camera and so forth. So when the Sony A6000 came out, and I found out about it, I was like, holy shit. I was like, this is a 600. I think when it came out, it was like 750, but a sub $1,000 camera, and it was way smaller. So me and
Yeah.
my wife, we had Canon T3Is. I still have them. I don't, you have your cameras above you. My whole shelf is over here. So I got a bad background here today, but we had Canon T3Is, so very consumer friendly, sub $500 camera. And I remember my first videos on my channel. I'm pretty sure everything's out in the public. I don't have hidden videos, but if you go way back, there's no autofocus in my like first videos because I just had the kit lens and it didn't have like AFC mode. It didn't have like a continuous focus. It
Yeah.
had single shot focus and stuff like that. So when I got the 6000 for my wife, not even for me, I was like, you can make YouTube videos and you can do the whole, put a product in front of you and it'll focus and you can be good. And she was like, oh my God, thank you so much. And then I picked it up and I was like, wow. I was like, it's so much lighter. It's so much smaller. And then we used to take our cameras with us everywhere. And then it started like, even just the regular DSLRs, we were like, nah, maybe we won't bring it, and that was when it was like iPhone 4, iPhone 5
Hmm.
area,
Yeah.
iPhone 6, and it started to be a little bit more phone friendly. We'll just take our phones, but we love photography, and I immediately bought a 6000 for myself. And then the gears started turning in my brain. I was doing I don't know if you even know this stuff. Like I daily vlogged for half a year in
Really?
20 yeah, and so in 20 so I did this is my history. I did gaming videos in like from 2009 to like 2012 or something like that. My first gaming videos were no face cam. So I think famously, like people remember like PewDiePie, he didn't have face cam when he started. He was just doing like overlay, like his voice over like Call of Duty or something like that. I was doing it over Gears of War. That's like my
Yeah.
big
Gears.
game of choice. And
Oh man, you
I
just
was
brought back
doing
memories. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I was doing montages and stuff like that, and and then I did a series. It was my gamer tag's Mugen828. It's from an anime, and I was doing drinking with Mugen, and I did commentary series and montages and things like that. And then I started vlogging when that got popular. And I daily vlogged in 2016 from January 1st to like mid June. And I got to a point where like I was working full time in IT and doing that. And I was sleeping like 3 hours of night. And it wasn't like I was famous. I was getting 30 views, 40 views. If I got like 100, I was like, whoa. And it kept being some of the same people and stuff like that. Like I'm sure you have people that come back to the stream, and it was just so amazing. But the best part about it was it taught me how to edit faster. So like a lot of the times you'll hear like Roberto Blake and things like that talk about like Mr. Beast, and like he made I think 500 videos before anybody even gave a shit. And when people started giving a shit, he marketed like crazy. Like he went to college campuses, he did very fantastical videos like
Yeah.
sawing a table in half with a plastic knife, things like that. So like I made I don't know how many videos it was for half a year, and I'm a Final Cut person, even though I'm on a Windows machine right now, but I'm a Final Cut person. And I just was like, okay, now I know how to make videos in like 2 hours. And it's cool too, because now we look back at that. That was like our second year dating, I think, me and my wife, now wife, and she was my
Yeah.
girlfriend in those videos. And our 9-year-old dog now was like one, like we got him as a puppy. So it was really cool to do that. I wish I would have stuck it with a year, but it was just like full-time job and a video every day. And plus they weren't like interesting. Like I thought they were at the time, but it was like mainly just like me, like walking around. Not a lot like showing the world and stuff like that. And it's hard to do stuff every day. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So and then after that, I did weekly vlogs for a little bit. And that's what people don't realize. Like there'll be like months with no videos. And then like 2017 came around and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do weekly. I did that for a couple months. And then I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do that anymore. And then like a half a year went by, and 2018 I learned about Amazon affiliates, and I was like trying to figure out how to be a creator versus having a full-time job. That was like what sparked it all. And then I couldn't shut up about my camera. And then I found, the bigs like Peter McKinnon.
Hmm.
At the time I was watching this guy, Ben Brown, Lewis, who I forget his channel name, but some camera people, Matty Hipoya and things like that. And I was like, oh, you can make money off of talking about cameras and stuff. I'm like, I do it for free. And then that was like what sparked the idea. And it just so happened I made a video called, like, everything was normal. I made, it was like 50 views, stuff like that. Normal, what I think people should expect when they make a YouTube channel. Your mom watches it, your friends might watch it if you tell them about it, and then like a grandma or two will find it. And then I made a video, top 5 reasons why the Sony A6000 is awesome. And somebody else had made a video of why they hated it. And their video blew up, and mine must have got like recommended like
Yeah, it
right after it.
coattailed with it.
And then that was it. I think I grew like a couple thousand in like a week. And then it was like that. I think in 2019, I went from like 700 subscribers to, I was at 700 for like a decade. Well, it took a decade to get to 700.
Yeah.
That's what people don't realize. It took from 20, I don't know. It took years to get from 0 to 700. And then it took a year to get from 700 to 15,000. And then the next year it was like another 20. And now I'm at like 41. In the past 4 years, I think it's gone up by like 1,000 each time, like each year. A net positive, I think, like that. And that's also because I made some videos, even though most of the camera's older. I made like one video I really like that I made was like 8 photography tips. So it's just evergreen. It's just like, it doesn't matter what camera you
Yeah.
have and things like that. But yeah, and I've made videos about the whole Amazon affiliate income and stuff like that. I'm very passionate about that. I remember when I made my first dollar, I was like, holy shit. I
Like
was
it's
like,
possible, right? Like it's
yeah,
something that can be done. Mine was with 26 cents.
there you go.
26 cents that came in, and I went, and it was during the holidays. I was actually at my parents' house, and I showed it to
Mhm.
my nephew, and I go, look, like 26 cents. And he's like, big
From the
shit,
internet.
right? Like, right. And I go, no, but it's working. Not only that, it's like the whole system's working, that somehow this already came into my bank account and
Yeah.
everything's set correctly. So now it's just, let's see where it goes from here. And yeah, I think for me, the thing that kind of opened my eyes to that was when I was still doing the phone repairs, right?
Mhm.
Because we started once again marketing and advertising on the social medias for that business. And one thing that happened was I was pretty proficient on repairing the phones, and this is when it was the iPhone 4, right?
Okay.
So the
Yeah.
iPhone 4 comes around, and I shoot a video of me doing the repair with a stopwatch, like a
Oh,
timer
okay.
on it
Yeah.
next to it, showing how fast I do the repairs. And I did it like in 15 minutes.
Mm.
Like all you see is my hands and the phone and the timer.
Mhm.
Oh, here we go. Zoom's giving me one of these
Yeah.
notices, but we'll take care of that in a second, right? So I'm doing one of these repairs, and we put it out there, and then the next thing you know, we get kind of like a reply from a shop in California saying that they did it in 10 minutes. You know, they
Oh,
go like, we're better than you. And I was like, okay. And me being
that's
a
funny.
camera guy, I look at the video and I see like discrepancies the entire time. Like, I'm like, yo, they stopped and stopped. Like, there's an edit here and there's an edit there. I'm like, what's going on? And then I start looking at their phone that they were using as a stopwatch, and I see the discrepancy in the actual times from when they started the repair to when they finished. And I was like, bro, that took you like 45 minutes from when you started recording to you finished it. And they were like, oh, a customer came in and distracted me. I'm like, listen, I don't want to hear it. You understand?
Nah,
It was
man, you gotta
edited.
do it straight.
And that's what then sparked, I think it was the YouTube creator iPhone Apple Pro, right?
Okay.
And that was when the iPhone 7 came out,
Mm.
that we first got 4K on these devices. And I was blown away with what his channel was doing, you know, the connections that he was building, and it really opened up my mind, or like sparked the curiosity, so to say, that I was on the platform advertising, and yet I was seeing like these people are doing it full time. They're not doing it for business.
Yeah.
How does that work? You know, so
Yeah.
that's kind of the one that sparked me into trying to figure out how to work this out. Are you still using the same old black boring mic cover? It's time for an upgrade. Introducing Doc Pops, the microphone covers that don't just improve your sound, they make a statement. Designed for podcasters, streamers, musicians, and content creators, Doc Pops reduces plosives, cuts down on background noises, and protects your microphone from dust and moisture, all while looking amazing on camera. With a variety of colors to match your style, your microphone will finally stand out as much as your content. Perfect for top mics like the Shure SM7B, MV7, Rode Pod mic, and many more. So make your mic pop with Doc Pops. Better sound, better look, bigger impact. Doc Pops, where sound meets style. Is that velvet?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I think about it sometimes, like, and this too. I mean, we can talk about this too. Like, I can't even tell you. Maybe I have like 41,000 subscribers, and it's just like sits there, and that kind of weighs on me a bit. And one of the reasons too why I like stopped is I started getting like really anxious of like expectations. And I always thought to myself too, like how why YouTubers like just stop. Like, why would you stop if you had like 1 million of subscribers and, you know, seemingly a lot of money and things like that? And I never made a lot of money. And I'm also an open book too about that stuff. I'll talk about how much money my channel's made. I've made videos about that on my YouTube channel. That's something I'm very passionate about. Like, I love calling out like scammers, like MLMs or even like multi-channel networks, like things like that. Like I'll just share like my affiliate income. Like I feel like a lot of people got preyed on in the pandemic. Like I would see like people from my high school get swept into these things. And I'm like, you can create stuff online and it's hard. It's really hard. And it's really hard to do what you have done, which is leave a job, leave a stable income and stuff like that for something that relies on, you know, other things and other entities, and also that relies on creative output. So that was a problem for me. Like I feel like there are some creators who just can create any day of the week. For me, it was always like when I felt like this burning desire to make a video. It's obviously easier when a brand's like, hey, here's a ton of money, make a video, but it's still like hard if you're not passionate about it and stuff like that. So I was getting sent things, like I have lenses that I was sent that after like a couple months, I just sent all of them emails and I was like, hey, I'm like not going to do this anymore. If you want it back, I'll send it to you. And I've never done a video for any kind of monetary exchange with a lens company or whatever. I've trashed lenses that I've gotten sent, and if they didn't send me any more, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, that's the deal that YouTubers should make. Not everybody does it that way, but that's how you should do it. And I was getting like such bad anxiety, like a weight on my chest that, oh, I have this like backlog of things I need to make a video about. And they're not even like what I want to make a video about. Like, you know, I might feel like next week I want to make like a Sony rumors video or something, but I have this lens that I was sent, and I was sent it a month ago, and it's already like, so that was like the first thing. And then I talked about this on my channel too, is like the pandemic just like zapped my creativity. I was so worried about the world. And I work in IT. I've been in my basement since basically like March 2020. And I was just like super freaked out. Didn't go anywhere and stuff like that. And I just felt like, and to allude to something we talked about earlier, Roberto Blake, I really love him. He's like a big inspiration of mine. And I remember we had like not a disagreement. We were talking about that. He was like, we have a opportunity to like inspire people during this time and create. Like we should do that. And I was like, I literally feel the opposite. I was like, I felt like it was like so many people were struggling and a lot of people were dying and stuff. I was like, I just don't see how I can like be creative at this time and stuff like that. So anxiety about brands and money and all that stuff, and then the pandemic, and like I just haven't, I don't know, I just, and then like time got longer, it got to like a year, and I was like, oh man, it's been a year since I like hit the upload button, this is crazy. And then it just kept going. And then I did like, because I was thinking about full time, I was thinking about like doing it. And I'm also, I mean, this is, we're just getting into so many fun facts today about I'm a type 1 diabetic. So I have to worry about health insurance.
Oh yeah.
And in the United States, and you don't, well, I mean, first you age out of your parents' health insurance at 26. I'm 35, so that's not an option. And then like I wasn't married at the time, so we didn't have like the opportunity to be on my wife's benefits. So like there's so many factors of like why somebody's making videos and why they're not and stuff like that. So I just went back to like focusing on my day job, which I'm a product manager for a payments company. So I work on features and things like that. And I wasn't a product manager when I decided to quit either. That was like something that I was like, oh, maybe I can do that. So it's been a weird couple of years, and it's so funny that like I saw your live and I was like, oh, we used to talk and stuff, and I saw you in Atlanta and I'm like, man, I was like, he must be really doing the thing, you know? So anyway,
Well, I'm
I'm very
trying.
excited for you.
Well, thank you, man. I'm excited for me too.
Yeah.
The one thing that it also does is that allows me to spend time with my son. So he's special
Yeah.
needs, and because of it, he requires me to be basically like his 24-hour nurse, which
Hmm.
is what I do. And a benefit to that is that I get to spend 24 hours with my kid. And
Yeah.
that's something that is not lost on me, right? And there's a conversation that I heard from, I forgot the person's name. He was interviewing Dave Chappelle, is the guy who does Inside the Actors Studio,
Okay.
and he was asking Dave Chappelle a series of questions about like when he was informing his parents on how he wanted to be, when he wanted to be a comedian,
Hmm.
and that his parents were educators and how they felt upon that. That right away, his father was like, oh, it's very difficult to be a successful comedian, and gave him this whole spiel. And David's response to it was, well, it depends on what you consider success, right? He said, if I
Yeah.
can make a teacher's salary doing comedy, something that I love, would you consider that a success? And his father really couldn't say anything after that, right? And
Right.
that's the way that I look at it, right? There's a lot of people out here who are working jobs like, like let's, for instance, say the people in Hollywood trying to make it. They're working server jobs throughout the week so that they can go to auditions, right? So that it
Yeah.
could like fuel their dreams. And in that aspect, I'm doing the same, but I'm doing it in the field that I want to excel at the
Yeah.
same time. I've been able to find like that server type job right now that is
Yeah.
allowing me to create content. But the way that I see it is that I'm kind of like a sous chef, right? I'm
Yeah.
right now working with other people's ingredients to make good content for them. And then when I get my ingredients for my own, I will still have the skills that I've been doing this
Yep.
consistently to then show my best work for my own.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's funny too, because even though I'm like now I'm no longer publishing new videos and stuff like that, and I'm like a full-time office person or real job person and stuff like that, the
A
wheel like
muggle.
never, yeah, muggle. The wheel though like never stops though. It's like
Yeah.
it's all I'm always thinking about because like
Oh, it totally killed it. And this is where we go live, losing the conversation. And we're going to continue recording. Ugh. I sent him a message through the chat inside of Zoom, and I forgot to tell him to read it. Okay. I'm sending him another Instagram message because this is how the podcast is going. We're just doing it on the live. All right. Come on. So I sent him the link to my interview mode. There we go. All right. To the right.
can you
Hello,
hear
hello.
me?
Yes, yes. The funny thing is,
All right.
I actually sent you the link through the Zoom chat, and I forgot to mention, hey, click this link in a minute. You understand? And I was just listening to you because that's what I want of this podcast, where you forget the time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you were saying
Is it
that
the
now
same
that
quality and everything? Is it all good?
yeah, if not, it should be better. But I digress. That's Ecamm.
Right.
I usually use Ecamm's interview mode, which is what we're
Okay.
using now, because I don't have a time limit, and because I've been using it for so long without a time limit, I really never even upgraded my Zoom account. Because there was no need. Whenever somebody else created a Zoom room, I could always join it, but I would never create my own because I would always use this link.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was wondering why. I mean, I didn't know Ecamm had this at all or whatever, but I was wondering why you sent me Zoom. I was like, I didn't even know. Like Zoom was hugely popular during the pandemic and stuff like that, but I was like, I don't know what else I thought we would use or whatever, but I was surprised. But
Well, Ecamm
it's
has
neat.
both. That's the whole thing, because I also have the Ecamm integration, but that's a whole nother can of worms. If you want to find out, I'll leave links in the description for the people who are interested.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you actually can have both. So my mistake was actually on the Calendly side, which I need to fix that. So instead of it creating a Zoom link, it will send my interview link, and we should be good. So,
Gotcha.
this is part of the learning curves of starting new, and getting things going. So,
All good.
but you were saying that you were now like no longer on the creative side, and that you're now like 100% like in the office type of
Yeah, I
business side.
mean, I work from home, but yeah, I'm in the yes, I was. But I was saying the wheel never stops in the brain of a creative. So before product management, I was a what's called an incident manager, and I worked for a mobile banking app, and I basically handled. I was like the tier 3, like the highest level you could be of incidents. So whenever an incident would happen, I would gather the developers, product managers at the time, even people on the banking side, and basically let's solve this issue. So it was a on-call type of job. So it's like you get a call at 2 a.m. and be like, people can't log into their checking accounts, stuff like that. And that's an amalgamation of my IT career. I've done everything: help desk, I've worked in a network operations center, I've done desktop support, I worked for a retail headquarters IT at one point. bunch of fun things. One actually is one of my favorite ones to talk about is I worked for a mugshot software company, and I would actually like
Okay.
go into jails and install Canon cameras because the company developed an interface between regular DSLR cameras and jail management systems so they could take high quality photos and stuff like that. And I remember I got hired there. They're like, "Do you know anything about cameras?" I was like, "I know a little bit about cameras." So it was like a nice job. But after I kind of decided YouTube was going to take the back burner and I wasn't going to try and go full time into YouTube, even though I was like at the height, I was like approaching 40,000 subscribers. I think at one point on my Amazon affiliate income, I was making like $700 to $1,000 a month from that. Like,
Not bad.
like almost like 500 from like YouTube AdSense. So I was making like a decent amount, like wasn't going to replace my entire paycheck, but like a decent amount. And so I was like weighing in, like, if I could ramp that up times two or times three, like, could I do it? And then just like the things we talked about, just like all folded in all once, like anxiety, the pandemic, things like that. So then I just was like, well, why don't I take the next step in my career? I was an incident manager for 3 years at the company. And then it just so happened a junior product manager at the company I was at quit. And I didn't know anything about product management. I knew they worked on features. I was like, I think they do something like that. And one of the product managers at the time was like, you know everything about our product. Why don't you try it? So I tried it, and I've been in it for like 2.5 years now. I've since left that company. So I work at a payments company now. And it's awesome. It's like, I've always been the person that, like, when you open an app, whether it be your banking app or Grubhub or whatever it is, I always am like, why is it this way and not this way? So a product manager takes business requirements or development requirements and builds out and fleshes out how a feature should be and takes it from start to finish to the client. And so I'm no longer like a grunt worker in the IT space. I know I don't
Mhm.
talk to people on the phone anymore, which is crazy. I'm not on call or anything like that. I strictly work on like business requirements of features of different software products that we offer. So like Ecamm probably has product managers who talk to clients, talk to customers and say, "Hey, what live streaming feature do we need?" And oh, that's going to come out in Q3 of next year and things like that. That's what I do for this company. So I've kind of like,
That's cool.
and it's a very lucrative career. That was that was a driving factor too. I was like, how can I, if I'm not going to do this YouTube thing, like I need to try and make more money a little bit and not be a worker, be in IT anymore and stuff like that. So, but now, like, I've been getting a little antsy and I'm like thinking about new channels and thinking about ideas and things like that.
Well,
Life
because
just
they're not mutually exclusive. That's the whole thing. It's not
yeah,
like you have to stop what you're doing now to then also create. But I can see how the job, this product manager, correct,
mhm, yep,
is a creative job nonetheless. You understand? Your platform right
yeah,
now is not video, but your mind and your gears are still working the same way. So I have a saying that it's part of like my live streams, which is upgrade your skills before your gear, right? And
yeah,
it's up
yeah,
and have the skills in place so that then the gear is just complementary to what you could already do. And that's kind of what I see from that job, that it's a creative mindset type of job. So you get a lot of the similar satisfactions out of it.
yeah, yeah. And I think too, that's why I was drawn to cameras too, is because, um, although you shouldn't be, but I like solving problems and like, cameras have their problems or error messages or they are technical things. A lot of
Yeah.
people are daunted to get into photography because it's a technical kind of area. And even me at a certain point, I'm like, I don't need to talk about like lens optics and like how they're made and like the different pieces inside of a lens. Like even for me, that's a little too technical. I just like the settings that you can use to optimize things, or maybe setting up your camera to where it's like easier for you to do your art. Like I really like that. I love being able to be like, hey, you can set a custom button right on the front. It's not too hard. This is how you can do it. And I've always been like that with technology. My first job in tech was a help desk job at my university that I went to, and I lugged my old custom computer up there, and for some reason I needed to give them my computer physically, like they needed my MAC address to get on the network. And so I did that, and I saw like tech everywhere at the office. They had like 10 monitors, they had cables everywhere, and students would bring their laptops in to get like on the network. And I was like, this is the coolest place ever. I was like, I want to work here. So at the time I worked in like fast food. And then the girl at the office, she was like, oh, you can't work here yet. You need to be a sophomore or above. I was a freshman. And I was like, I transferred in. I was like, technically I am a sophomore. I was like 6 credits short of being a sophomore or whatever. But long story short, she was like, you need to come back. I was like, okay, I'll come back. She's like, okay, sure you will. You know, I'm sure a lot of students have said that to her. Sure enough, next semester I showed up and was like, hey, I want my job. Let's do it. I want to work with computers. And then here we are 15 years later. And it was like a great catalyst for me seeing like all that tech and stuff like that. But yeah, I think technical people tend to get into camera stuff. And I think it's like artsy people and technical people. And then like the combination of the two that get into photography and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there, because I'm a mixture of both. But, you know, like, because I like the actual tech, like I said, fixing. So the first time that I got my hands on an A6000 was I bought a broken one off of OfferUp for $40. And because it didn't work, I totally disassembled it. And it seemed like somebody tried to do a repair and wasn't able to put it back together correctly. So once I disassembled it, I was able to kind of read the schematics of the way it was built and put it back together. And I would say 99% correct. I got the thing to turn on, except the memory card kept saying that it didn't read, you know, and I just kind of left it like, oh, maybe that's why it was broken. But the one thing that hit my mind, and this was the A6000, I then realized, I was like, hey, I didn't even see a tutorial. I didn't even check out anything. I go, let me go ahead and take a look at that. And the first video I saw, I kid you not, the connection between the motherboard itself, the main board, and the memory card slot was the same size and pins on both sides, but I had put it in reversed.
Oh, okay.
So I reopened it, flipped that cable, put it back together. Everything worked. And then I started adapting my Canon lenses onto Sony, and the rest is history. So
there you go. Hey, if you're up for it, I don't know if you're up for it, but my original A6000 that I started my channel with and all that stuff, it's been broken for years. I don't know what's wrong with it.
Hey, for you, I'll definitely take a look and give it a shot, even if it's just so that you can have your original camera working.
Yeah, that would be cool. I will never get rid of it. I mean, it's in my heart. My assumption is my battery door broke off years ago. I remember I dropped it in like the snow, and that's not what did it. It worked for a long time after that. And that was another thing too, is some cameras don't work with the battery door open, which is such a pain in the ass. But the A6000 apparently didn't care. Like, it has nothing that tells
Sony
camera.
Canons are the ones that usually deal with the door.
Yeah, so it worked for such a long time without a door. And like even the hinge part, there was something that was like sticking out. I've even like jerry-rigged that. I've like broken that into it, but I'm assuming it was probably too much, elements getting
like
in
moisture and things like that.
And eventually it just kind of like maybe just kaput because of that. But I literally couldn't tell you what is wrong with it. It just doesn't power on. So I don't know. But
like I said, I will do it for you and just for fun. You understand? And see what we can do.
Yeah, I would. That would be really cool. What do you shoot on nowadays?
Well, I'm still shooting Sony. My most recent camera is the FX30, Just got it
Okay.
this past May for my birthday.
Cool.
Very thankful. That one is really, it's an amazing piece of kit. Prior to that, I was still rocking my A6100. So, like for
Nice.
all these years for my live stream, I have my A6100 and the one that we're using right now, which is my
Yeah.
main, because I kind of switched them from my main and secondary, is my A7R2.
Okay.
So, you know, like I have this full frame camera that now I run 4K off of the APS-C side because it
Okay.
does the 1.5 crop. So I just use my APS-C lenses and treat it like another
Oh, okay.
APS-C camera. And with the dummy battery, it just stays on indefinitely. So
Yeah.
I have my teleprompter and everything set up to it so that it's just ready to go for my live streams.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
and then because I have the FX30, I then, you know, paired it with the A6600. And this was because once the A6700 was officially released and
Mhm.
announced, I was saddened that Sony completely moved away from the flip up screens, which I
Mhm.
prefer, and they went flip out. So I was like, okay, then the 6600 is the best that I can get in the flip up
Flip
screen.
up.
So I invested
Mhm.
in that.
Got it. That's cool. You're still shooting on Sony, even some APS-C. What's funny is although I use this is my 6100 and I have a 6000 for live streaming, for the since kind of my tapering off of YouTube videos for the past years, I mainly shoot photo. I've always been a photo person first, even though I've done video longer, which is kind of funny. But
Mhm.
um, I shoot with just the Canon M50 Mark One. I have 3 of the EF-M lenses for it. I do have some Viltrox lenses for it, but there's something about the tactileness of that camera, and it's small, and I just love the image quality out of it that I use that. And that was also another thing with the channel is like I didn't really want to get lenses and stuff for the my 6100 anymore. I was using the M50 everywhere I went. Like I would never leave home without it. And I'm like, man, like now I have to like shoot with a camera that, trust me, I love my 6100. I love my A6000. Like I love them, but like I was tagging things on my Instagram photos like Canon M50. Like I'm shooting with the Canon M50, shooting it, and I was like, so there's just so many different things that you never like foresee coming. However, speaking of the wheels turning and stuff like that, um, there's a lot of things that have happened in the past 2 years in the camera world. I literally just looked on it.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I was thinking about what we were going to talk about. The Sony EV10 Mark II, is that what it's called?
Yeah, that
Came
just came
out.
out today. The
That came out.
ZV-E10 Mark II.
Yeah. So there's a whole, the A6000's no more, so every year, one of my most popular videos would be, should you buy the Sony A6000? I would make it right in January, like right in the first week of January. And I made it like all the way up to like 2022. I thought about doing one this past January. I was like, it's 2024. That would be 10-year anniversary of its debut. And
Nice.
my answer is always the same: is buy the gear that's cheapest for you that you can afford. A6000 and even film cameras of 30 years ago are great. Like buy
Yeah.
whatever you can afford, used or whatever. So I would still say, yes, you should buy it, but you should buy whatever works for you. If you want a camera that can shoot vertical, then like the Canon M50 Mark II has a vertical specific mode, or I'm sure the 6700 has it, which is also funny too, is that we were waiting forever on my channel, like my community, for the 6700.
Mm.
And I stopped making videos when it came out, and I
Before.
was like, man,
Yeah.
they should have came out with that like 3 years ago. But it's such a cool line of cameras. I'm a big fan. I actually just saw Leica made a sub mortgage payment cost camera. It's like $1,500.
I
I think
like that way of putting it. Sub mortgage payment.
I don't know their like I know their history. I know they're like are they German or something like that? And they're like super expensive. I've looked into Sarah Dietschy she's made videos in the Leica Q2, I think it is. It's like $6,000. And I've even like looked at that camera. I'm like, maybe this is the camera. I'll just buy this and never use anything else. But I saw Lizzie Pierce, I think is her name. She just made a video about the Leica. Oh boy, I forget what it's called, but it's $1,500, and it's
I'm gonna have to check it out. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, and the first thing I did was look up the price of this camera. I'm like, okay, she's promoting a Leica camera or talking about a Leica camera. How much is it? I'm like, is it like $7,000? And it was $1,500, and I think it's their competitor to Fuji's. What is it? What's that popular camera they make? It's in the realm.
XT Pro, right?
No, it's the fixed lens one that people use.
The
5, I think they're on now.
No, it's
X105, I think it's called, or something like that.
I think
it's like sold out. Yeah, it's like
the X100V, and then now they called it the 6 because V was supposed to be 5, but of that same line of cameras.
Exactly, and I think that camera is fairly pricey too, like $1,500 to $2,000, around that range. So like always been more expensive than like the A6000 and things like that. But great, like stunning quality. And then obviously Fuji has their film simulations and stuff like that. So I think Leica put out a camera because the Fuji X100 is like out until October. Like you can't get it. So they have like just a complete back order log, and Leica came out with that. And I was like, that's interesting. So, and it's always so funny to me. People are like, oh, APS-C is dead. They've been saying that for 10 years, that APS-C is dead. And yet
not at all.
It's just still going, which is really cool.
I don't see it dying ever. Like, for example, in my workflow, I use APS-C for video because like the FX30 with the smaller sensor is going to actually be better in rolling shutter and a lot of the things that end up being bad for your video. Now, when I go to photography, I go full frame, just because I know the added benefits, not only to the size of the sensor, but of the codecs going from, like 10-bit to 14, even 16, depending on the camera that you're using. So for my workflow, the final result is always my like main goal. So like you were saying about getting used gear, I mention that all the time. I usually always say, write down a list of the things that you want to get out of your production. Right. Yeah. And I mean, like, oh, I don't want to be shooting at 1080. I want it 4K. Or if 1080 is your bare minimum, write that down, so on and so forth. And then look for the camera that fits your needs and try to find the best or least expensive camera that can satisfy what you want to get out of your production. And that's going to let you down a much better path than trying to buy the latest and greatest camera because it is just the latest and greatest.
Yeah. I mean, we've been in the game a while, but we've all succumbed to that. It's definitely a very important thing to tell someone, especially getting into photography the first time. Like, they're going to be consumed with the gear. They're going to be consumed with the new things and stuff like that. But it's funny to me to like be at this point. Like, I think I've been in photography now since really I got an iPhone 4. I had a blog. This is what happens when you get older. I was talking to my wife about this the other day. I'm like, you know how many like chapters of your life that you have now? Like, I had a blog called Adventures on My iPhone. I literally just took photos on my iPhone, and I was like part of that whole iPhone shot on iPhone hashtag back in the day when hashtags were a thing. And I like loved it. I was like, I'm just going to take pictures on my phone and blah, blah, blah. Then I met my wife, and she had a Canon T3, not even a T3i. And then I bought a T3i to make YouTube videos with. My very first post on my Instagram is a picture of my camera with my phone. And I'm like, ooh, things are coming. Like, who cares?
It's very meta, because that was my Instagram as well. As a camera junkie, I was using cameras to take pictures of cameras. Like,
it's so funny. But like, I mean, so now I've been in, taking photos, not seriously. I mean, I guess, amateurly or whatever, passionately. Not trying to make money off of my photos, but passionately taking pictures for the past 15 years. And I'm using a camera that I bought like 7 years ago, my Canon M50. Like I love it. I really don't see a camera beating it out at the moment. I was very interested actually in the Canon um, M6 Mark
Oh, the
II
M6. Okay.
when that came out, but they because it's a lot more megapixels. I think it's 32, and the Canon M50 is 24, like the standard. And I was like, wow. I was like 30, 32 or 36. I was like, wow. And I could use my EF-M lenses. I have a 32.14 that I like love. I like never take it off the thing. And I have a 22 millimeter f2, which is better than the two Sony pancake lenses. They have a 16 2.8 and a
Yeah.
22.8, and they're like really
The
not great.
16, I cannot use. The 20 millimeter, I can. And that's the one that I kept. And that's one actually that I run on one of my vintage setups. I actually have a Sony NEX5 or NEX6.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I think it's the NEX6. And that one with that 20 millimeter pancake lens is so small and compact that that's like my pocket camera when I want to still snap photos, randomly.
Exactly. Yeah. So I fell in love with the EF-M. Like it's just small, and it means nothing to nobody, but I like the look of the camera too. Like I just like the aesthetic of it. And I remember the M6 Mark II, I wanted it, but there's no EVF. There's a like periscope like EVF that they came out with that's an attachment.
Yeah,
But I'm like that's gonna drain the already tiny battery and stuff like that.
You can tell you're a camera junkie because you understand the nuances of it, right? When you see those things, you're like, why would you do that? That's just gonna drain the battery faster. Absolutely.
I will have to figure something out eventually, I think. I mean, I could use the same, even though they're electronic based cameras, until their electronics go in my M50 and 6100, I could use them indefinitely. But Canon even has now switched to the RF mount, and now they have they're doing the same thing. They're doing RF-S lenses, whereas back in the day they did EF and EF lenses. So yes, it's a shared mount, which is nice. Before it was not. Canon had two different mounts, so you would have to get. So they did the Sony thing now, where they have one mount to rule them all, which is nice. But they're still like selling the separate lenses. So it's like, I wish they could make a APS-C sized camera, but like RF lenses that still use the full frame, but they're not like huge. Rather than like a crop sensor lens on the RF. And in the past 4 years, since I've kind of been on the downtrend of buying gear, so much has come out. There's like a whole new line of Canon APS-C cameras and things like that. So I'll have to dive further in.
You're gonna have to look into it because I just got my hands on the R10, which is that line of the APS-C with the R mount for Canon, and I'm just testing it out. Still for video, it's not the best, and that's just my opinion. Such a small body with overheating and things like that, there's nowhere for the heat to go. Gotcha. But for photography, it falls into that category very well. First of all, it looks great. It does have an EVF, and when I've adapted my manual lenses, my vintage lenses onto it, the interaction that I'm getting with the manual lenses and the digital like autofocus is working surprisingly well. And there's a couple of things on there that most people won't really understand, but autofocus while the camera's upside down actually kind of doesn't work on Sony for the eye tracking, but still does for the Canon. So, how they're implementing the technology within the systems it's similar, but there are these little nuances that make the difference on how you want to use the product. And that's why I think, believe it or not, you're kind of like a Canonite when it comes to photography. Like you've
Yeah, I
naturally
do.
fallen into the camera that you use most. And like you said on your Instagram, you even caught yourself like, yo, I'm using a lot of, the M50.
People notice too. So, and I was like, yeah, I was like,
You're being called out on it.
I love the Canon M50. I'm sorry. And I would talk about how even though there's 8 lenses for the EF-M, and now it's officially dead since
Yeah,
now they
it's officially. Mhm.
there's something about the look of them and how small they are. And when they came out with the 32 1.4, I was like, I'm a very street style photographer. And even I go to the beach, my parents live down at the beach and stuff like that. Like, even when I'm doing landscape stuff, I kind of like being, it sounds contradictory, but I like just having a fixed lens, which is why I've thought about buying the Fuji X100 Mark 5 or 6 or that Leica camera because it's a fixed lens. I'm like, I kind of moved away from like, I'm going to bring me and my wife are going on like a hike or something, and we're going to bring 3 lenses and stuff like that. That's why one of my favorite lenses, which they just came out with for Canon, supported, is the Sigma 18 to 50 to f2.8.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite videos I've ever made on my channel. We went on our honeymoon, and although I
Mhm.
did bring my Canon M50, I shot the whole thing on the Sony A6100 and the 16 18 to 50 f2.8 because we went to the Finger Lakes in New York, and there's a lot of landscape to take pictures of and stuff like that, and just like being able to take street portraits of like my wife and stuff, but also being able to like zoom in and out even just a little bit, like 16 or it's 18 to 50 is fun. But I'm typically like around 35 millimeter guy. And if I got to move my feet, I move my feet and, take pictures like that. Um, so, and that too,
Well,
that's why I like APS-C as well. Is I've never been like, I don't need like a 70 to 200 and stuff like that. And ironically enough, my wife is now a Canon shooter. So
what is she using?
she uses the Canon RP, and the reason we got that is because, and we got it when it came out. It was $1,000. I think it still is, or it might have, if it's
I
on
think
sale.
it's under
It
like
might be like,
798 around there, like seven
which
$800.
at the time it was the only full frame camera you could ever get for that price. So it's full frame. It's not gonna like blow you away with any statistics or anything. But that was when the RF mount debuted, and she was doing more second shooting for weddings and things like that. And it was just like the next a little baby step. So like she had the 6100 and she was taking out all of my lenses and stuff like that. I'm like, hey, why don't we'll get you something else. So and she wanted to go full frame. So I was like, hey, this is $1,000 and you'll make the money back in like one or two like gigs or whatever, and
Mhm.
then we'll figure it out. And this past Christmas, I got her it's twice the value of the camera, but I got her the 24 to 70 f2.8 RF. So now she has that. I've tried to tell her
Nice.
to sell her other lenses. Like she has the RF 35 1.8 macro, which is fantastic all around lens. She has the very cheap 16 millimeter f2.8, or no,
Which is one that I have on that R10, and it's not too bad. It's pretty good.
she has that. She has the regular nifty 50, but RF. So that's a super cheap lens. And then her other big expensive lenses are Canon RF 85 millimeter f1.8 macro, which is a fantastic lens for like ring photos. And you could also do portraits. And as a second shooter, if you're like assigned, like, hey, just do portraits of the family or whatever, she could use that. And I think she has one other lens. She has a Viltrox also portrait lens, 85 millimeter 1.8. And I'm like, you could sell. I'm like, this is just a thought. It's just a, oh, she has a zoom lens too. She has a it's a 70 to 240, I think, RF. It's one of their like base zoom lenses. It's
Oh, like the F8 one?
no, it's a variable. It's not the kit zoom lens. It's like the one that has more reach. It's 70 to 240, I think, and it's like 3.5 to 5.6 or whatever. But it's RF. It's
Yeah.
like I was like, you could keep your zoom lens, and you could sell all the other ones, and you could just keep the 70 to the 24 to 70 2.8. But she won't do it. She's like, I don't want to sell those or whatever. And plus, they're all like cheaper lenses, like the 50, the 16 are cheaper. The biggest one would be the RF 85 1.8. I think that's like a $600 lens. So, but yeah, so she's like fully our household. Even though I have over here, I probably have like 30 Sony APS-C lenses. Which I have a ton. I've done a lot of videos on the like TT Artisan, 7 Artisan, a lot of manual lenses and stuff like that, which I've always had a lot of fun with. Per Gear, all those types of lenses. We both shoot Canon now, wherever we go. And she has like 7 or 8 Canon RF lenses. So she's like, even though I think that the one lens is the most expensive, like she has probably like $4,000 worth of like RF gear, and now I have a discontinued EF-M camera or whatever. We're like we shoot Canon and stuff like that. The next step really for her would be the Canon R6. They're coming out with a Mark III, but
Yeah, that's what I was.
But really, when they iterate like that, though, they iterate kind of video first. Like it'll be, you might have like say the R6 Mark I, it might be like there's a certain amount of video features it has, and it's just easier for them to improve the video specs. It's like, okay, now there's no more crop in 4K 60. And then it's like, then the best one, like the R6 Mark III might be, or it might be like 4 or 6K, or it might be, 8K. I doubt it will be 8K or whatever. Or it's like you can do now 120 with no crop, like 120 frames per second, 4K with no crop. So it's like it's easier to iterate there. Whereas like in photography, it's like you can up the frames per second. Maybe you can go from like
which then gets redundant, because I'll tell you the truth, when Sony cameras got to 14 to 16 frames per second, I did one photo shoot with high bursts and came back with like 1,500 photos to cull, and they were almost impossible to differentiate because you're getting like all the same exact frame. So it's like this eyelash hair was that much different than the previous, and they're all pretty decent, but so much extra work when it's not really necessary.
It's for a specific use case. Like I've seen a photographer, if I was doing like creative portraits, like for like, say if you have a son that plays baseball or whatever, I'd be like, hey, you're going to hit this water balloon and it's going to explode. And I had a 30 frames per second electronic shutter or something.
Exactly.
That's where you need it. But if I'm just going to like shoot a family on the beach, now I'm going to have, like you said, 1,500, it might even be like 3,000 photos of them walking on the beach. Am I really going to go through 3,000 photos of them walking on the beach? So, yeah, but crazy stuff.
Well, now I have some questions to ask, right?
Okay, sure.
Just to try to put things into some type of context, because I absolutely love the conversation and the fact that it can go anywhere. But I would say, as a child, right, to get to know you more like behind the scenes, right? Like questions that people don't ask you, like what was your favorite piece of, I guess, childhood tech, right? Or your favorite toy that maybe you think that would have started your creativity, when you were much younger?
Creativity. Okay. This is cool. Yeah, because I can talk forever, so I apologize.
No, and dude, you're talking to a Puerto Rican. I take a half an hour just to say bye, so let's not go there.
Yeah, like you just say bye over and over. And also, I apologize. I'm not looking into my camera lens because you're below it, so like it's hard. So I'm sure I'm gonna get grilled for that. But
nah, don't worry about it. It's the Camera Junkie crew, and I've been fortunate enough to foster a really cool community of creators.
Yeah, I can imagine. I should have put it over here. That would have been better. But anyway, cool piece of tech. I'll just say the first thing that came to my mind was like the original Game Boy.
Nice.
I'm 35. I was born in 1988, and I got it when the Pokemon craze started, like blue version, red version. And I'm a blue
Love it.
version guy, first of all.
Yes,
So
a Squirtle.
yeah,
Let's
I
go,
have
bro.
Snorlax. You get Snorlaxes back here. But that was like, I mean,
See that?
I'm a huge gamer. I game practically every night. That's what started my YouTube journey, is making Gears of War videos and stuff like that. And probably the Game Boy was like my first piece of technology, exploring worlds and stuff like that. And I've just been a gamer ever since. I can't imagine my life without video games. I do have a fun fact for you. My gamer tag is Mugen Space 828. I'm in the credits of Gears of War 3. I'm a special thanks of a developer. So
Nice.
uh, I was such a nerd about Gears 1 and Gears 2. I was on the forums. This is for the kids back in the day. We used to have a place on the internet that was just text, kind of like Reddit, where you type replies and then you have to wait for the person to reply like a day later and things like that. And I was super into the forums for Gears of War, and being part of the community, talking to the developers about what to improve and things like that. No wonder I'm a product manager. And he thanked like a group of us in his like spot. So when the credits roll, it's like the famous person who did Gears of War, who like it was his idea. Cliff Blazinski is at the top, and then it rolls through the people, and he was he was the head of multiplayer, and he was like Mugen 828. These other guys that I was friends with and stuff were in like the credits of
That
Gears 3.
is so cool. You're gonna make me now have to replay that game so I can see the credits and then find it in there. So check that out.
Here, I'm gonna prove I'm not lying for a second. This isn't the credits, but I'll prove I'm not lying. So, way back in the day, too, I played it so much, and I talked to people on the forums and stuff so much. The reason he even like knew about me is they were looking up stats of multiplayer, and they were like looking at it, and I played it so much I killed so many people in a specific game mode that's like not respawn. It's called execution. It's round by round and things like that. You only have a certain amount of lives. And I had so many kills that he messaged me and he was like, "What are you doing that other people aren't doing?" He's like, "This doesn't make any sense." So he sent
That's
me
so cool.
he sent me an action figure from the game, and he signed it to Mugen, baddest mofo to hold a controller, and he signed it Lee Perry. So that's it's a palace guard figure from Gears
That
of War
is
2.
so cool.
Yeah, this is like my claim to fame is my gamer tag, not my name, my gamer tag. Mugen 828 is in a credits of a video game. So yeah, I'm a big nerd gamer.
Hey, you're within the right company, sir, because I'm the guy who takes things apart just to know how they work on the inside. And I still do it till today. So it's like if something's broken, that's like fair game for me. I'm like, I'm gonna find out how it works, or maybe I'll be able to fix it. So that's just been my MO like the majority of my life. Now, falling into the same kind of theme, then what would be the piece of tech or gear, right, in the same category that has you infatuated right now? What is the Game Boy of 2024?
Oh man, piece of tech.
Yeah, like anything, whether it's a camera or like an electronic toothbrush, like something as far as tech, that is like got your mind going or your gears going, so to speak. No pun intended. that that has got you as of late. Like say, like the latest thing that you found to be cool.
I have two actually, now that I think about it for a couple of seconds. And one of them is so hilarious to me because we've already talked about it a little bit, which is my current phone. I think I couldn't even tell you. I think it's an iPhone 15 Pro. I had the iPhone XR since 2018, and I just bought this.
Dude,
I don't
we're
know.
so similar on so many different things because I've been
I,
rocking the 11 Pros and I just got the 14. But continue.
yeah, me and my wife both had the XR, 2018, and that was when I was like heavily into cameras that was when I started my YouTube channel, and I just never had the money to like spend $1,000 on on a new phone. I wanted to buy like another lens and stuff like that. I was like, screw. I went from having a blog dedicated to shooting photos on my phone only to then being a camera person. And I must say, I'm kind of blown away by what the phone can do. And this ties perfectly into us is after your stream, you mentioned on stream about hooking it up or whatever. And I was like, I could have another camera angle. And I watched iPhone Doe's iPhone Doe or iPhone Do. I forget how you
Yeah,
say his
iPhone
name.
though. iPhone though.
iPhone
Yeah.
Doe. I watched his video recently on the Apple program. I forget what it's called, where you can multi-cam and record it like live and
Yeah,
things like
that's the
that.
Final Cut Pro camera.
Yeah, there we go. And I was like, holy! And plus, I finally needed to make the jump to USB-C. This is the first phone they made on USB-C. I'm like, let's get out of Lightning. My wife, she is a 13, so she still has Lightning at the moment. But I've had the same phone for 5 years, and I was like, screw it. I'm going to be an adult. I'm going to get a new phone. And I've just been really having fun with it. Like, I think it's been so many years since I've seen a jump in like my phone quality and stuff like that. And I love the wide angle lens. I think it's so fun.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's one.
Macro photography, right?
Yeah.
And the one thing that I'm just gonna add to it before you get to your
Yeah.
next piece of tech, the one thing that got me with it is the refresh rate on the
Yeah.
screen and the
Yeah. Yep.
smoothness of it. Like I'm someone that once again that doesn't get lost on, and I can tell the difference between like the 90 to
Exactly.
120 hertz that it could
Mhm.
refresh to the 60 that's locked on my iPhone 11 Pro, and I'm like, just that alone is like,
Better.
ooh, yeah.
It's so much
So now,
better. Yeah.
what's the
Yeah.
next
So
piece of tech?
I have an Apple Watch. I've never been a watch person. It's funny. It's actually dead. But um, this I'm wearing a running shirt right now. I'm a big runner too, and I got this to. It's funny because I really like the watch, but I also hate it because. So I got my phone 2 months ago, and I haven't sat down to try and do it yet. I did it like once, and it was like a half hour went by, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try another time. I still haven't gotten it fully work with this new phone yet. It does a little bit. It'll show me text notifications, but I can't. I said before I'm a type 1 diabetic. It hasn't connected yet to my new continuous glucose monitor and stuff like that. But when I learned that was even possible, that I could see my blood sugar on my watch, I was like, I got to try
Yes,
this.
please. Like,
So that in itself was like enough for me, and I wanted to stop carrying my phone on a run, like having it on my arm, and like it's just like a pain in the ass, like
mm-hmm.
just to have this. Um, and then I reached the hurdle though. If I leave my phone behind, this is what's connected to my glucose monitor that's on my tummy right now. And if I just have this, it breaks the connection. So it like goes from here to the phone to my watch. And if I leave it behind and I'm gone for more than a half hour, it severs the tie and then it can't tell me my blood sugar anymore. But technology is always expanding. I have the Dexcom G6. I think the G7 solves that problem. It's now going to be, it's no longer going to go from to the phone to the watch. You can just go from the watch to the thing. So
Oh,
it's
that'll
not
make a huge
there.
difference.
Yeah, it's not like there yet for me. The watch, I feel like Apple like really needs to figure out stuff on it. Like even and it's probably because it's not a native app. Spotify on the watch has had problems for the years. I remember that's like why I didn't get one for so long, because you couldn't play music on a run through Spotify, but now you can. So like that was like a big hurdle for me. I didn't want to use Apple Music. I just wanted to use Spotify. I've had Spotify for 8 years. I have all these playlists and things like that. I was just like, I just want to use Spotify. And when they announced that is when I was like, okay, I'll try it. And I do really like the Apple Watch. So that's another thing. And I've only had it for maybe like a year. So it's like relatively new in my life. So
nice. Okay, well, the last question that I'm closing my podcast with is, seeming that the show's name is CITYSGAW, channels that I think you should go and watch, and that's exactly the category that you fall in. I would like for you to share with the Camera Junkie crew, who is your CITYSGAW? Who is a channel that you think we should all go and watch?
This is great. And while I'm looking, I'll tell a story. I did this years ago, and I called it Little YouTube. And it was I created a hashtag. I was like, we're going to do Little YouTube, and I'm going to share like 4 people. And this was like a dedicated video. So I did a dedicated like Little YouTube 1, 2, 3. I don't know if I got to 4. And what's funny is at least one of them has like over millions of subscribers now, which I thought was really cool. His name's Mac Does It. He's a comedy channel.
Nice.
And I would have to go back and look to see how many subscribers he had at the time, but it was just people who watched the same comedy people like Grace Helbig, Hannah Hart, Mamrie Hart, and I was like, trying to shout them out and stuff like that. So okay, all right. Now I'm done. So in the name of Little YouTube, who should other people watch? And it doesn't have to be tech related, right? It could just be anything.
It could just be like anything. Who's got your attention, just like the Game Boy did when you were a child, just like your iPhone and Apple Watch have you now. As far as the creator, who is a creator that like you think like, hey, even if it's just purely entertainment purposes, that you think the community would enjoy.
Oh man, such a good question. I'm scrolling through my subscriptions right now to see who.
Yeah, because I fall through those rabbit holes all the time, which is why I started CITYSGAW in the first place, right? It's like, hey, I should be sharing these people because of the value that I get from them, right? Some of them is just like, hey, I feel like I can hang out with this person and have a beer, right? And then this one is like, hey, whenever I have a serious like question, I could most likely go to that channel and get the answer that I'm looking for. So it's really wide spectrum, but I think also will allow for this podcast to be on more of a wider spectrum than just the Camera Junkies. There's a lot of honoraries, right? Honorary Camera Junkies. But to be as part of CITYSGAW, I think it's going to have a much wider reach.
Got it. All right. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to give you 2.
Perfect.
All right. The first one is a guy who he just made a video the other day. And he's been out of the game for a while because of health issues, but he's super awesome. And I think he's getting back in the video making. His name is In the Money. And speaking of rabbit holes, this has nothing to do with anything we talked about. He does financial about stocks and investments and stuff like that. And he's super smart and he's really funny too.
Cool.
And he takes an approach that's different than like really anybody else I've watched. But he's had like brain health issues for the past year or so. But he made a video yesterday and I was like, oh my God, In the Money, he's back. His name's Adam. And yeah, super awesome financial content that's not the like buy now or sell now or the world's ending or like Graham Stephan and stuff like that. He's really funny and dry. So that's number 1. Number 2 is a guy who I'd stopped watching for a while, but I've been watching him again, is Camera Conspiracies. Everybody should watch Camera Conspiracies. I love him. I've watched him for such a long time too, like before he, I think even had his notoriety now, but to tie into talking about cameras and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
He's a really awesome YouTube channel to check out.
Absolutely. And he's someone that I have featured on my segment of my live streams, The City's Gone. So someone that potentially could be on this show just the same. So Casey from Camera Conspiracies, he had me before the, bigger following. He had me
Yeah.
at the song. As soon as
Yeah.
I heard this song, bro, I was like, I was laughing too hard to not have me like, I need to follow this guy. And the perfect camera song, for those of you who don't know, go ahead, check it out. Camera Conspiracies, someone else, well, Kyle's City's Got in this case, and In the Money with,
In the
what was
money,
his
yeah.
name?
I think his name's Adam.
Adam
But it's
from In the Money. I'm
yeah.
definitely gonna check that one out. But yes, um, so
Yeah.
that's it, man. That was this episode of Cities Gaw. I gotta thank you, Kyle, for taking or making the time to hang out here with me and share some stories with the Camera Junkie community. And that's where I'm gonna tell everyone who's listening: take care of yourselves and each other, and we will see you next time. Talk to you.